Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Search for Holy BatCast, you will find us. If you're a fan of the show, you can also support us on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. As always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys rock. Thank you so much for doing what you do. You can. We're also part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Letterboxd. Just search my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, wait a minute. We just got an episode like a couple days ago. What the hell is this? Why is there another new episode? It's because there is no rest for the weary. And when we talked about the DC swirl just a couple short days ago, we were like, all right, we're caught up. That's great. But guess what? Now the swirl has caught up to us and bit us in the ass. Because this evening, we got more news about what's happening with Superman and Henry Cavill. We finally got some official word on some of the plans that James Gunn and Peter Safran have for DC Studios. And because it just so happened we were available to talk, we thought we would talk about it. So I've got two fine gentlemen joining me. First of all, he was with me last time, and he's staying up late to talk to us about this. It's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
Good evening.
Good evening indeed. How about good afternoon?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I swear to God, that's what I want to say every time I sign on Twitter the last week.
I tweeted that, and like 10% of the people understood what I was doing. Everyone else was just like, oh, hey, Andy, how are you? And I was like, oh.
What's that the kids say nowadays? If you know, you know.
Yeah. It's fine. Anyway, thanks for being here. We also have a special guest, our pal from over at The Fire Rises, Mr. Joe Fornerato. And he's still talking to me today, which is a good sign as well.
By the seat of his pants.
I know, just barely.
Very, very thin.
We've just been distracted, so good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon to you, Joe.
Thank you for having me for this momentous occasion as we are here for this. And I'd much rather be talking about the other arguments we've been having today, but that's okay.
Would you? Would you really, though?
That's a good question.
I don't know if you would.
The fact that it's even debatable is a little rough. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Joe, it's great to have you. Jamie, it's great to have you. We're going to get to the meat of it in just a second. But first, of course, I have to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped for sponsoring Holy BatCast. Manscaped.com has everything that you need for your male grooming routine. They've got trimmers. They've got body wash. They've got shampoo, conditioner. They've got deodorant. They have a new loofah that I'm still waiting to try. But you're buying gifts right now for people. Or maybe for yourself. Maybe you're doing the thing where you buy a gift for you and a gift for them. Go to Manscaped for you or for the men in your life and make some purchases. But if you're going to make some purchases, save some money. And when you save some money, you support Holy BatCast. Everybody wins. So you can use the promo code BATSCAPE to get 20% off and free shipping. You get quality products, you save money, you give a good gift that someone's going to actually use instead of throwing in a drawer, and you support a podcast. Everybody wins. And isn't that what Christmas is all about? So please go to Manscaped. They're good products. I think you'll be happy with them. We're happy with them. I like my stuff. Jamie likes his stuff. Brendan likes his stuff. I don't know if Joe likes his stuff. I don't know.
I do like my stuff.
Okay, good. That's great to hear. I'm happy to hear it. So yeah, go to manscaped.com, do a little shopping, get the trimmer, get the performance package 4.0, whatever looks good to you. But please use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping, because that way they'll know that you heard about it from Holy BatCast, and that helps us out in the long run too. So please and thank you. Happy holidays.
Some of y'all out there need to invest in some of these deodorants from Manscaped because y'all are fired up, and I know you're sweating about it. So.
Oh, yeah, there you have it. So again, Jamie, just a few short days ago, we were talking about the plans for DC Studios in the future. And I said something to the effect of, yeah, I just hope that with all this transparency and with James Gunn sharing info, that he will share real info when he is allowed to. And here we are, Wednesday evening, 9 p.m. I put my daughter to sleep. I was hanging out on the couch. My wife's out of town. I was watching Bad Moms Christmas. I was doing fine. Life was good. And then the world explodes, just like Krypton. And so to his credit, James Gunn shared some real information, and we got some info. I don't know if the tweet came before the Hollywood Reporter article, because I saw them at exactly the same time.
I have James Gunn on notifications now on Twitter, and that's how I saw it. So I didn't even see the article.
So yeah, there is an article from the Hollywood Reporter, and I don't know if it beat Gunn's tweets or not. That's how on top of each other they were. But
isn't Hollywood the Reporter one of them that he gave a little bit of business to today, or was that Variety?
Oh man, I don't even know. God, that was so long. That was so long ago. I forgot all about
5 hours ago.
Was that today?
So much has changed since then. So that's a great point, actually. There was info earlier today that James Gunn was considering folding in Matt Reeves' The Batman into the joined universe, the DC universe. And James Gunn debunked it on Twitter. And then even Matt Reeves backed him up, which was pretty awesome. And I do love that James Gunn's not afraid to smack down clickbait and bad info. I think that's great. And so, yeah, that was earlier today, but I can't remember if that was Hollywood Reporter or Variety, or I don't remember. Because a few hours passed and then more stuff happened. So the Hollywood Reporter did run this article about this new Superman film, and James Gunn shared all of this info himself from his Twitter, and then, to his credit, even answered more questions from fans. So this is the first big move and the first official news about what Peter and James Gunn's plans are for DC films. And of course, now this stupid article is being weird. Okay, here we go. Here's what James Gunn said. Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focusing on an earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. But we just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. So, some other little tidbits about this thing. James Gunn says he has been working on it for a while. Remember, a few years ago, before he did the Suicide Squad, there was talk of him possibly doing something with Superman. So Superman is a passion for James Gunn, and apparently he's been working on this story for a while. And that even though this is a younger Superman who is a young reporter, he is a reporter at the Daily Planet. He will not be living in Smallville. And it is not an origin story. And so that came out. And then not long after, actually very shortly after, Henry Cavill released his own statement. And I believe he did that on Instagram. Because he's not on Twitter, because he's smarter than us. And he says, I've just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who've been my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. So not only did James Gunn confirm it, Henry Cavill was right there to confirm it as well. Another really interesting tidbit that James Gunn himself confirmed on Twitter is that they also had a conversation with Ben Affleck, not to return as Batman, but to direct. And he literally said something to the effect of, he wants to direct, so we met with him about directing. It didn't say what. Obviously, no deal's been made, but they've had conversations with them. And then according to THR, they've also had additional conversations with Patty Jenkins, even if she's not going to do Wonder Woman 3. So, what a night. Oh, what a night.
Christmas is the season of giving.
In 2022. Okay.
James Gunn is celebrating Christmas Kwanzaa, winter solstice, all 8 nights of Hanukkah, all in the last 48 hours, because he just won't stop giving us this information.
Here's the first thing I want to say, and I think it's something we can all agree on. No matter how you feel about the decisions being made, you have to give James Gunn all the credit for being upfront, transparent, and honest. And like, that is something that has been lacking regarding DC films for years now. And so if nothing else, we at least know what's happening, and he's not afraid to tell us. So even though, and I know the reactions to this news are very mixed, they're all over the place, because of course they are. You've got to at least respect that Gunn stood up, faced this head on, and just gave us the truth. Jamie, you want to take it first?
So, I mean, I guess I'll just hit it right where I landed with the tweet I just sent out, the conversation we were just having. Is it sad that Cavill is not going to be Superman anymore? Yeah, it kind of is, because a lot of us, myself included, were pretty excited about the prospect of his return as we saw it coming here. But this is not with the plan that they want to do. And listen, whether you like it or not, you have to understand that they want to do something different than what has already been done. And it's in the best interest of what they're going to do it in this way, not to pick and choose what pieces they're going to keep, not to try and salvage, if you will, what they can from what has already transpired over the course of the last 9-10 years, but just rip the Band-Aid off fast, get it done, and start over fresh. And that may not be everybody's preferred method, but it's one I'm certainly willing to roll with, because I'm excited about the prospects of what we get to see now. Instead of the constant, well, how are they going to make this work? How can this piece fit here? How can this character fit here? Is it Snyder adjacent? Is it not Snyder? Are they acknowledging this? Is it tied to that? We don't have to worry about that anymore. And I know many of us are fans of what has happened with the Snyderverse as it came down. Again, myself included with most of that. But for me, this just seems like the most logical move. You've got a new regime heading this up that has a big plan, and they want to put that plan in motion as quick as possible. Things have been very much in limbo for several years with these existing films in this particular universe. So for me personally, in my opinion, I think they're making the correct choice. It may not be the popular choice. It may take some time for people to adjust and get over their grief and mourning for it. But in my opinion, in the long run, and probably even the short run, this is the best move that they could have made.
All right, Joe. I know that when we talked about jumping on the mic, Joe, you even said, "Oh, a quick therapy session." So, how are you feeling?
Well, I'll get like the most negative. I'll be out of the way, just because I am bummed that Henry Cavill's not coming back, and I think the biggest issue I have with it is that we were just told he's coming back.
Yeah, I think that is totally fair, and I'm right there with you. Yeah.
If that didn't happen back in October, I think it would have been an easier pill to swallow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, sorry, go ahead.
No. I just said, like, it just seems like typical DC. Like, it's just an emotional roller coaster all the time. We all kind of, at some point, came to terms that Cavill's probably not coming back. And then we get official word that he's coming back.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, not really. And I hadn't even realized that was prior to Gunn and Safran actually taking over.
It was awfully close. Like it was right. I think it was within a week of each other. Was that announcement, like after the movie came out and then them being hired?
Yeah, it's weird how like they let that happen without having the plan in order. But whatever. So I would say, out of you guys and Brendan and maybe even Eric to an extent, I mean, I'm probably the biggest Snyderverse guy. Would you agree with that? I know you guys are fans of Snyder, but I'm probably the craziest one out of all of us with that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I don't know if I can't speak for Eric, but me and Jamie are huge Snyder fans. Like we love the Snyderverse, but I think, I don't know, maybe what you're getting at is we have been open to things that were not that. We haven't been
I'm going to put my hipster beanie on for just a second and remind everybody here. I was a huge Zack Snyder fan before he ever took the helm of the DC property.
Absolutely, you're 100% correct. And I found Zack because of the DC movies. So, but my point is just that, like, I'm past the point of feeling sorry for myself that if they just stuck to the original plan, we'd already be past it by now and had all the movies that Zack planned. Like, when you actually think about that, it is very frustrating. But over the last few years, I've just kind of come to terms with it. And I'm just done. Again, I'm just done feeling sorry for myself about it. And it's just, I love these characters. I want to see the best possible scenario moving forward. And I think Gunn was in a really tough situation here. And we all wanted the transparency. He dropped a bomb on us today full of transparency that none of us really expected this at 9 o'clock at night, our time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it hurts that we're not going to get more Henry Cavill. But like I've said, we got, not including whatever Justice League film you want to discount. So let's say one Justice League film, whatever one you choose, and you get Man of Steel, BVS, and a fun cameo at the end of Black Adam, which is a little bittersweet now. We've gotten a great selection of him as Superman. And those movies aren't going anywhere. I'm happy that we have those. I mean, with Christopher Reeve, we only got 4 movies. It's not like it was a...
Yeah.
With Cavill, if you count both Justice League movies, you get 4 movies with Cavill in it, and you get a little cameo at the end of Black Adam. So I just always have that mentality of, just because something is ending doesn't mean it erases those films we got. We still have them.
Yeah.
I could still enjoy all that stuff. So...
And even the span of time that Cavill has done this matches Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reeve started in 78 and finished in 87.
Mm-hmm.
That's 9 years. Well, guess what this year? This year is 9 years since Man of Steel. So
yeah.
He even matched him in that.
So I'm happy with what we've gotten. And yeah, I'm not going to lie. It hurts. I think it does hurt because of the official announcement back in October. It just makes no sense to me that they would do that. But kind of makes sense when you think about how it is to be a DC fan. It's a typical Wednesday being a DC fan. But I'm happy that they've made a hard decision here. And as long as they stick to this, I'm good with it. Like, I'm willing to roll with it. The characters are bigger than the actors, people. And the important thing is I just want to see good movies. And I've seen a lot of good movies already with these actors. They're not going anywhere. So bring on the next step.
Yeah, I will definitely agree that I think what makes this sting more than it even should is everything that just happened in October with Black Adam. Because that just happened, because of all the teasing and the hype about his return, and then getting the post-credit scene or mid-credit scene in Black Adam, and then getting his official Instagram, "I'm back, guys. Thanks for the support. I never gave up hope." Because of all of that, and because that just happened, that makes this a much harder pill to swallow.
He did that interview for I can't even remember what the podcast was, but it was like an hour-long interview. He was pushing Enola Holmes 2, and they asked him a lot of Superman questions, and he was just so excited about it. And it just stinks. Like, granted, I get it. He's an actor. He's a professional. He knows how the business works, but it still does sting a little bit as a fan to see him be so excited to come back and know that it was for nothing. Like, it's a weird situation.
It is. It absolutely is. And I agree with you. I agree with the fans out there who he should have gotten more chances at bat. There should have been more Superman content with Cavill over the past 9 years. Absolutely. That's just not the way it happened. It's just not the way it worked out. And if it weren't for the Black Adam cameo, and it's weird because do I want the Black Adam cameo to not be there? Not really. But at the same time, had that not happened and then this announcement was made, I'd go, well, yeah, no kidding. Like, yeah. There's been no movement there. And that's what I kept saying every couple weeks when they were like, oh, he's coming back. No, he's not. He's coming back. No, he's not. I'd be like, it's been 5 years, guys.
Yep.
So it wouldn't be that surprising because there'd been no movement for 5 years. And then all of a sudden we get this little carrot dangled in front of us in October and it's taken away just as quickly. And that's disappointing. And I think it's a bummer. And I think we all of us who love the Snyderverse, who love Henry Cavill in the role, we all wanted him to have one more big chance to play Superman. And it's a shame that that's not going to happen. All that is to say, though, do I understand the decision? I do. And I think to what Jamie was getting at is it does seem like the writing is on the wall in that they're clearing the board. That makes perfect sense as to why it seems like there was no route forward for Wonder Woman 3. That makes sense that, we're starting with a Superman, but it's a new Superman and it's a younger Superman. I think they're starting a new shared universe, but I understand why they would want to do it. And I mentioned it on the last episode is every movie that has come out post Justice League, every movie that has come out post Man of Steel has been carrying a certain amount of baggage with it, one way or the other. And they've not been able to shake that baggage. And I feel like the only way to shake it, at least for the general audience, because you're never going to please all the fans all the time, and that's fine. But the only way you're going to shake that baggage for the general audience is a fresh start. And like you said, that's a tough decision. It's not the decision I would have made. But again, Hamada was trying to not throw out the baby with the bathwater. And he didn't seem to please anyone with what he was trying to do. He was trying to save as much as he could as he went, like Godot and like Margot Robbie and like Momoa. Like he was trying to preserve as much of what came before and came up with very mixed results. I like most of those movies, so not to me, but you know what I mean? Like they were trying to do it both ways, and that hasn't seemed to work. And so I understand why Gunn and Safran is like, this is going to be a really bitter pill to take, but the only way to move forward is a fresh start. And if that's what they're going for, and it certainly sounds it, I get it. And I'm willing to go with it because to the points both you guys made, we've gotten a lot of movies in this continuity. It's been almost 10 years. It will be over 10 years by the time the last one comes out, which is Aquaman 2 next Christmas. And so 10 years, and gosh, I should have the number of movies, and a shitload of movies in those 10 years, that's a damn good run for a franchise. And every franchise, well, I don't want to say every because then I'll get emails, but most franchises are always due for a reboot eventually anyway. And so 10 years in all those movies, that's a pretty damn good run. And to your point, Joe, and I've always felt this way, is like, those movies don't go away. Like one of my favorite superhero movies of all time is The Rocketeer. There's one movie. Do I wish there'd have been more? Of course I do. Wasn't in the cards. Does that take away my enjoyment of The Rocketeer every time I pop it in? Absolutely not. I can always go back and enjoy that movie. If you love Man of Steel and I love Man of Steel, I'm still going to watch it all the time and I'm still going to love it regardless of whether or not we got more of them. And so this is a time of transition. There are going to be growing pains. They're making tough decisions, but they also need to set themselves up for the best possible success moving forward. And so I do understand why this is happening. And I also feel like Gunn and Safran, to their credit, they're like, listen, we know we want to go with a younger Superman. We're setting up a new continuity. I love that they sat down and talked to Henry first.
Yeah.
Henry heard it from them first. That shows a great amount of respect. And the fact that they had conversations about, but there are possibilities for you anyway. Who knows what those are? I can't wait to find out. But like, they seem to, while they're making these tough decisions, I think they're also very smartly trying to preserve relationships with the talent, with Henry Cavill. I mean, to come in and have a meeting with Ben Affleck, that's great. That's amazing. Like, while Zaslav pisses off the talent, Gunn and Safran are trying to mend those bridges. Hopefully that happens with Patty Jenkins too. Who knows? Like that one still feels up in the air, but I hope that happens too. But they seem to not only be trying to build the future for the DC universe, they also are trying to mend bridges and build relationships with the talent who are committed to the DC universe. And I love that too.
I mean, DC properties in pretty much every form love to do the legacy casting.
Yeah.
So now we're maybe going to get some of that and mixed in with a little bit of legacy directing. if you will. Something like that. I mean, it feels like Gunn really wants to hang on to the players, even if he doesn't want to hang on to their specific characters, which, just another way of saying what you were just saying. I love that. I love that they're showing that respect, telling them, hey, we don't want to cut this relationship off with you. We just maybe want to change how we're going to go forward with it.
Right. And if the rumors of like, okay, we love you, Jason Momoa, but we're starting a new continuity. You got your Aquaman films, but we want to work with you. What if you're Lobo in the new continuity? Like that's a great idea if that's the way it's going to go.
Sure.
And like, what could that be for Cavill? I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it. But like, I like that too. I want to keep him in the family. He deserves it. And I like that they're still making it a priority to keep that relationship healthy. They showed him the respect of having that conversation first, and he showed them that respect right back in his very classy statement. And I will also say, it's just nice to have an answer, even if it's not the answer we wanted. Because the big question mark for years and years and years, and the rumors and the speculation and the scoops and all of that, it's exhausting and it's frustrating. And tonight, we got an answer. We got an answer from the guy running the universe, and we got an answer from the actor himself. And that's something we haven't had. And there's something to be said for that.
He got out in front of the scoopers this time. Could you imagine what the next 2 weeks would have been like with all these scoops if he waited till January, 5th or 10th, whatever, to actually drop this and it got out? So, but like you said, with the respect that he's showing with the actors, and maybe my cynical way of looking at it would even be all the people that are bashing DC right now because they gave up on Cavill and all this. Well, maybe if they keep Cavill in the universe, those people can't really have that perspective anymore because Cavill's still willing to work with them.
Oh, they're going to be mad no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's less justification there. I mean, not that they really have any anyway, but I like that, they're being respectful. I think that's the key thing there. And like you said, Andy, too, with if you were in charge, this might not be the decision you would have made. Think about the tough decision James Gunn is making. He did direct the Suicide Squad. He had Margot Robbie. He wanted to direct Margot Robbie. We have Peacemaker season 2 coming, as far as we know. These are probably tough decisions even for him personally with what he wanted to do in the universe.
Yeah.
And like, if I was making this universe for myself, I might not do this. But when you look at it from a business perspective, when you're actually the guy in charge having to make these decisions, how could you not have in the back of your head, it's now my call. All this baggage in the last 10 years, as much as I love this universe as it is, as it was built, you have to still think, wouldn't it be easier just to wipe the slate clean and do my own thing? This is now my baby. If I'm going to live or die with this, it has to be completely mine, not piecemeal. And I don't know. I don't envy this guy's decisions. You guys have said that numerous times on the podcast over the last few weeks, that you don't envy these people making these decisions. And I agree. This is not, it's easy for us as fans to just say, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that. Well, there's a lot of other things factoring in here than just us as fans saying, I like this movie or I don't like this movie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to your point, like, Gunn had a vested interest in some of the current universe anyway. And Peter Safran certainly did. He produced Shazam. He produced Aquaman. He produced Aquaman 2. So like, it's in his best interest for that to continue. But I also think that, again, they have to think about the future and what's the best way to move forward for the next 10 years. And so when you look at it that way, I understand it and it makes sense. And it's going to be painful and it's messy right now. And so I'm seeing some stuff about that. Of course it's messy right now. It was always going to be. It's a transition and they're figuring it out. But at least we're getting info. At least James Gunn is sharing what he can as much as he can. So we are at least clued in as to things as they're happening. And even if we're not, and he warned us. He said, not every decision is going to make everybody happy, because of course it's not. But they're doing what they think is best to set it up for the future. And I respect that. And I'm willing to give them the time to make that happen. And then once those movies start coming out, I mean, we'll see how it goes. I reserve the right to not like them if they come out and I don't like it. That could happen. But for now, you've got to look at everything that's happened over the past 10 years and understand the assignment they were given. And then you kind of understand the plan as it's unfolding. And as fans who were like, nope, you should just restore the Snyderverse, like that's not thinking through the whole problem. It's just not. And so,
and that's coming from us that would love that. Like,
yes, and exactly. And I think that's just it, is I can separate, like, as a fan, yes, I I wanted to see all of that. I love Man of Steel. I love Batman vs. Superman. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's not even that I don't like those movies. I love those movies. I love all three of those movies. I just am realistic enough to understand the perception of DC as a brand in the greater world and understand it's not as simple as that.
And even in that long tweet thread that Gunn did, what was it? I don't even remember how long ago it was now, man. This has all just been such a whirlwind of stuff that's piled on. It feels like our chat, like twice a day, every day, is like, well, there it is. And you read it and it's something from Gunn addressing another thing. Anyway, in that big long tweet thread he had the other day, he said something about the effect of this universe carrying through movies and TV and comics and gaming, and he basically indicated, it's not just going to be on big screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe Gunn, being a fan of this stuff and having the contacts and clout and pull and being in charge of this division, can now say, I don't know, Jim Lee, hey, why don't you have like a little mini division over here where we can maybe wrap up some of these threads? Maybe we can have Patty Jenkins submit a treatment for what her Wonder Woman 3 would have been and do that in comic book form. Have Zack Snyder contribute to a Justice League book, to, the things that we've always talked about. If we can't get the finality of it on a movie screen, at least give us an animated version or a graphic novel version or something along those lines. These possibilities still exist.
Mm.
And obviously Gunn likes that particular world that he worked in. And, he knows Zack and they're amicable with each other and all. So, I mean, those possibilities still exist that we may see something like that. I mean, I'm not saying it definitely would happen, but we can't rule it out.
Yeah. No, I agree. Anything could happen. And he is considering that, and that they are considering that in the decisions they're making, is they are understanding, here's what some fans want, here's what other fans want. And they're, all those conversations are happening, and they still have to try and go, you know what? Like, at the end of the day, we have to make the decision of what's going to work best for us forward. But you're right. As things progress and evolve, the possibilities are endless. I will also say, once you, and I know a lot of people aren't ready to do this yet, but once you start letting go of the past, of being like, listen, okay, let's say these, this universe ends, right? It ends. And you start thinking and imagining like, oh, we're going to get another Superman movie. And it's going to be a Superman movie that's not an origin story, but it's setting it up for like another franchise. Like, that's kind of exciting, that excites me, right? Like the possibilities, once you get past the disappointment of this universe ending, the possibilities are exciting. And franchises have ended, continuities have ended, and you can still always love those, but you can still be excited about what's to come. And that's kind of where I am right now. They've got this slate that they've worked out, and I can't wait to see what it is. So while I'm sad, and I still think that Cavill kind of got a raw deal, because any negative perception of the movies he starred as Superman in, none of them were his fault. I still think he was great in those movies. He kind of got a raw deal. And I acknowledge that, and I'm bummed about that. I can still be excited about, but it'll be great to see a new Superman movie again, with or without him.
Yeah, the journey is most of the fun leading up to these movies. I mean, look at how much fun, whether you love the movie or not, look at the Batman. How much fun we had just enjoying the ride leading up to that movie. Every reveal, every new thing that came out prior to that movie. That's what we're now going to be getting with this new slate. And then you can look at the other side and how much drama we've had leading up to every movie of the last, 8-10 years, however it's been. Like, there's been nothing but drama surrounding these movies because of all the, whether this is going to happen, whether that's going to happen, what's going to tie into what. We're now, I don't know, again, maybe I'm just trying to look too much on the positive side, but what's the point of dwelling on what we're missing when we still have a lot to look forward to, and we still have those movies that we loved. I mean, we got like just the Zack Snyder movies. He directed 3 movies, people. It's not like he got one and got the boot. I mean, there are not too many directors that have directed more than 2 comic book films in a universe.
Well, and what I love about those 3 movies, I mean, there are a lot of things I love about them, but what I love is like how interconnected they are. It's a true trilogy. Like
yes, you
one
don't have
movie,
to watch anything else either. You can.
One movie just seamlessly flows into the next and then into the next, and that is,
yeah,
I love that. And you're right. Like he got to make a trilogy. He didn't get to make all 5, but he still got to make a trilogy that fits beautifully together and still tells one really epic, overarching story. And I'm always going to be able to go back and enjoy that.
Yeah, like even the Dark Knight trilogy. I think all of us would have wanted more movies to fill in those gaps, but it's not like we are bitter about only getting 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I will also say this, though, and this is another kind of downside. They are going to be, it's going to be really hard over the next year trying to market these movies that are now going to be kind of lame ducks.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked about it in our chat, and Joe, you made a good point of like, well, whether you know it's the last one or not, you can still enjoy it as a movie. And I completely agree with you.
It's like the shared universe problem because people don't just go to movies for movies anymore. It's all about the next movie. And to me, it's like, well, a movie is still a movie.
I agree with you. And I think you're right, but because I'm going to be excited about them regardless, but I do think there's going to be some trouble and some challenges with marketing them.
Yes.
When the news is already out that, they're burning off the movies they've already made, because as soon as we get all these out there, and again, things could change. This is not official yet, but this certainly seems to be the way it's going, is once they get through Aquaman 2, that's probably when a clean start starts. So I think it's going to be a challenge getting people excited about those when people know that they are not part of the ongoing thing. But you're right. God, what is the Marvel Cinematic Universe done to us that, if it's not part of the overarching shared universe, I don't care. Like,
yeah,
whether does the movie look good and fun and entertaining, then I want to go see it. But I just think that is going to be a big challenge of trying to manage that marketing and that message of being like, a new DC universe is coming, but in the meantime, here's the last hurrah of the old DC universe.
Well, Jamie said in the chat, like, the easiest answer to this would be the Flash cleaning the board. I still can't figure out why Aquaman comes out after the Flash. Other than they need more in post for Aquaman, but I feel like that makes it so much more confusing.
Here's the part where I become Mr. Popular on this particular episode. I'm going to hedge my bets and say Flash ain't happening now.
I think they just moved it up a week. Like, it makes no sense that they did that either. But
they just moved it up a week before this announcement came.
Yeah. I still feel
they've done so much to readjust that film in so many ways with so many pieces to reset the universe, presumably, and do all this stuff with. Now they've got a full reset done. Unless they're somehow going to tie the Flash into whatever reset is coming on the horizon, there's literally no reason in the world for this movie to exist any longer.
Oh, wait, I got one better for you. I totally forgot. Blue Beetle comes out in between the two. What's up?
Yeah, it comes out in August.
Is that is that just one and done?
We don't know. That's a great question. And that was something I brought up in the last episode, is stuff like Shazam. It's technically part of the Snyderverse, but only tangentially. You know, there are references to the Snyderverse, but it's a pretty thin thread that connects them. So, like, you could get away with keeping Shazam, maybe Black Adam, but maybe Blue Beetle.
Like, it kind of feels like a why bother scenario too.
But that's just it. Is if you truly want a clean slate, you're going to just go all in on a clean slate. And so,
it's very weird.
Time will tell, but it is very weird because Blue Beetle. We don't know how ingrained into the current DCEU that is. No idea. It could be a total one-off, and it could barely have any connection. But Safran produced it, So my hunch is there's going to be some connection to the DCEU because he did the Aquaman films and Shazam, and those did. So, yeah, like who knows? But maybe those references are minor enough that it could be standalone, and you could use that as the beginning of what's next. Who knows? Like but again, that comes with it. It gets so messy, and the messier it gets, and the more those threads unravel, the more you go, you know what? It's just cleaner to clean the board.
Because then you also got the whole JSA that they just introduced.
Yeah.
You have The Rock as Black Adam. Could you imagine if they just got rid of that completely?
Yeah, I know.
Which again, to me, clean slate means get rid of that too, especially now that Henry Cavill's at the end of it. It almost feels like that's even more confusing.
He almost tripped himself up with that.
Yeah. I legitimately feel, and I said that as much to you guys, if you're starting over grassroots from square one, you can't keep any of these pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I feel that way is because Gunn he's in touch with the people enough to know that's going to do nothing but just keep those bad feelings harbored for an even longer time than they're already going to be. And I have a feeling they're not going to die off anytime soon anyway. But if you're going to keep Shazam or keep The Rock as Black Adam or keep Blue Beetle tied to this universe or whatever is going on there, it's just going to create confusion and chaos.
Exactly. And then it keeps coming back to the same problem is if you try to preserve any one piece, then it's still technically part of the previous universe. And so you're right. The cleanest way to do it is to completely clear the board. And that means you lose so many valuable assets.
Certainly. Absolutely. Yeah. We know we've cut ties with Henry in that capacity anyway at this point. One would assume that conversation is being had or will be had very shortly with Gal Gadot as well. Mm-hmm. Obviously the conversation probably has already happened with Jason Momoa. So
we know that conversation has happened with Jason Momoa because I feel like Gunn and Momoa both acknowledged that they had lunch.
Okay. So, it feels like one by one, we're moving down that list and saying, hey, we loved your work. We love what you did, but we just can't go forward with that as existed. And maybe we can find something else for you. We can do you as Lobo, Jason Momoa. We can put Wonder Woman in. Gal Gadot, you can put her in any other female capacity that you would want to do in any way, shape, or form. Henry Cavill literally is the prototypical comic book superhero look. You could put him in any other part and it's going to work. You can find homes for these people. But if you're cutting ties with the biggest, most valuable pieces on the board with proven track records of success being Gadot and Momoa there, and even to an extent Henry, because none of those movies were outright failures, other than maybe the theatrical Justice League. But it doesn't make any sense to cut those pieces loose. And I love Zachary Levi. I love that guy to death. I absolutely do. It doesn't make any sense to keep him. It doesn't make any sense to keep The Rock. It doesn't make any sense to keep any of that stuff. Just rip it off, tear it off, do it quick. It's just going to hurt if you try to peel it off slow.
Yeah. I know. And it's rough and it's not going to be fun while that happens. But in the end, like you said, I hope they find other ways to continue working with these people because these are great, talented people who love the universe, who love the characters. And I want to keep them in the family. And to your point, DC is good about reusing folks. And I hope that is the case. I said this earlier in our chat. When the announcement that Yahya Abdul Mateen was taking the Wonder Man role for Marvel, I got a little nervous. And it's not because you can't be in both universes. Sure, you can, but no actor has been in such two prominent roles in both universes that I can think of. Maybe Michael Keaton was the Vulture, and then Batman. I don't know, but the Yahya thing felt like kind of a first where I was like, he's Black Manta. He's front and center. And now he's going to be Wonder Man starring in his own Marvel series. And that kind of made me go, oh, that's weird. What is that? How does that bode for Black Manta? And it just makes
it he dies.
It just makes me wonder if they've already had that conversation. Yeah. You know, is Aquaman 2 is the end for his Black Manta.
So do you guys think there's going to be a film explaining the end of this continuity, or do you think they're just going to say this is the last film in the universe and start fresh this one?
I think that's it. I think it's last movie comes out, the end, and then the reboot starts.
I agree. As much as I'd love to see some kind of a
that's the thing that is still messing with me is that Aquaman
that's just it. The Flash would be a much better way to at least try to tie some sort of bow on the end.
Yeah.
Especially because, by our understanding, Godot cameos in it, Cavill cameos in it, and Momoa cameos in it. So the Flash at least felt like the way to give some sort of wrap up that gives us a little bit of finality and an ending. But now that comes out, then Blue Beetle, then Aquaman 2 is going to make it a little weird. But there's nothing saying that they can't reshoot the ending of Aquaman 2 to give it some sort of finality as well. But I also would not be shocked if they shuffle the slate again.
That's where I'm at. But it's...
I mean, seriously, who's even going to bat an eye if Aquaman moves up to summer and Flash moves to Christmas?
If they swap, yeah.
Who's going to bat an eye at this point?
That would be the best of both worlds, I feel like, at this point. That I would sign for that right now, just because that means at least we're getting still the same amount of movies in the same amount of time. It's just... they're swapping. That's no big deal. As a DC fan, that's a win.
Yeah, and honestly, it would probably make the most sense.
Yeah.
Based on what we know, but whereas the Flash was supposed to our knowledge, set up a new status quo, instead it has to set up an ending now. So will they care enough to rejigger it a little bit to make it feel like an ending, or are they just going to release the things as they were shot, as they were planned, and just go, that's it, it's over?
And it's funny now, it's the kind of the other elephant in the room that nobody's really talked about in a while because there hasn't been much news on it in a while, but the Ezra Miller situation probably doesn't help this either. You know, like as far as deciding whether to do a, clean swipe or not, because did they really want to continue with Ezra with everything that
Well, I mean, this honestly solves their problem.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is they're like, well, we already shot the movie with him, so that comes out, but then we don't have to worry about whether or not he's the Flash in future movies because nobody's the same in future movies.
Yeah.
They can start fresh. And again, when you look at it that way, I get it.
Yeah.
At this point, Ezra's been quiet enough. I don't feel like their presence is going to cause any ripples one way or another, because I don't even know how much the general population is truly aware of the things that were being reported about him. I mean, obviously the geek circles that follow this stuff real close, like us, we were aware of what was going on, or at least what was being reported about what was going on. I mean, none of us really know what was going on, but I feel like the news on them has gone quiet enough that they can probably comfortably release that movie at any point if that truly is their intention, and not have to worry about a crap ton of PR backlash from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant more as far as going further.
As far as keeping them in the role.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no,
I don't think your point is still well taken too, Jamie. As things have gone quiet, by all accounts, Ezra has gone to WB and they've had conversations, and so far, yeah, it seems like it's been very quiet on that front. So as long as it stays that way, they're probably okay to release that movie without too much controversy. There'll always be some, because of course there will, but I think with minimal controversy, at least with the general audience.
And keep in mind, everybody, the general audience is all that really matters to the studio.
Yep.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing that we as fans often don't want to acknowledge. Because we want what we want, but we also have to acknowledge, the people who don't live and die by this stuff, who don't follow it every day on Twitter, the people who, when the movies come out, they decide whether or not they want to go see that movie. And DC has a brand problem. They have had a brand problem for years now. However you feel about the individual movies, and Gunn and Safran are doing everything they can to turn that around. And that means a little bit of pain right now, but I truly have faith that it will be worth it in the long run. At least that's what I'm going with right now. And then later, if things are horrible, I'll tell you then. But for now, I'm still remaining optimistic, and I do understand the rationale of the direction they seem to be going based on what information we have today.
I feel like, in my heart of hearts, because I'm still bitter with Zaslav over certain things, as long as the conversation was had between him and Gunn and Safran, that they get to make the choices. I mean, Zaslav obviously will have the final say on anything, but give them the creative freedom to make all these choices. Don't kneecap them and tell them no about certain things. Just let them run it the way they want to. I think we're going to get something truly special.
Mm.
But we have to have that interference and that bean counter mentality out the door. And I'm not saying they should make, $400 million budget movies for every one of these things or any of that stuff. But these guys feel to me like, being involved in the projects that they have, in various other films, even with other studios, they understand what needs to happen in order to make a film successful. There has to be a controlled budget, a quality script, a good cast. I mean, all these things play that factor. And I think these guys know that. I think they're qualified and they understand that. And I think Zaslav believes that too. And that's why they got the job. But he's got to stay out of their way in order for this thing to work.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's the only catch that will hang this studio going forward up, is Zaslav saying, if they make a $190 million Superman movie that only makes 423 global box office, I don't want Zaslav knocking on Gunn's door and saying, "Hey, you screwed up. Now I'm going to come in and help you fix this." That's the last thing in the world we need.
Yeah.
Well, that's what got us in this mess in the first place.
Yeah.
More or less.
I have 2 points I want to make. The first point is, I meant to say it a while ago when we were talking about James Gunn and him sharing information and debunking rumors and answering fan questions. We could easily ignore them, and how much we appreciate that. But I do feel like at this point, we could have a daily podcast just about James Gunn's Twitter. Because every day there's more to talk about, which is a blessing and a curse. Because it's a blessing because at least we know what he's thinking, but the curse is, man, things change every single day. So the other piece is, we've talked a lot about Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, the cast and the cast that we love. Like you mentioned, Zachary Levi, who's amazing, The Rock, and how we hope that they can keep them in the fold. I also think it's worth noting, though, that I hope that they're having these same conversations with James Wan and with David Sandberg, because those are filmmakers who did an amazing job on those respective films. And I hope they at least want to keep the talent behind the camera as well in this new era of DC films. I'd love to see James Wan make a Superman movie. Like,
I would love to see that hold tight, but the one thing that gives me pause about that is this monster deal that's getting ready to go down between Juan and Jason Blum.
Yeah. That's a good
Which
point.
I'm super excited about that too, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
As a horror fan, I'm very excited about it, but I hope that doesn't mean James Wan as a director is moving over to Universal as well. I hope he will continue to make films for WB, or hopefully for DC.
I feel like the prospect of him getting in some kind of a one-off is still very much alive, but him getting involved in like franchise, I think we're out the window on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to hire him to direct a trilogy of movies at this point. You're going to say, "Hey, we got the idea for this character, or is there any character you want to take a quick shot at with this movie?" And, get it done in timely fashion. And then he can go about to his billion other project that he's working on. He's too busy of a guy to try and lock him down to that 3-movie deal or whatever.
Oh, and he, by his own admission, says he never wants to make a trilogy. He says after the first sequel, I'm ready to hand off the reins. So he even said he was not going to make Aquaman 3. Yeah, he said he was going to not make Aquaman 3.
He didn't with Insidious and
Conjuring.
Yeah.
So
I would like him to direct Dead Silence too. I'm just saying.
Me too. So
Hopefully
anyway,
him and
my
Blum have
point
had
is
that
just
conversation.
I hope that Gunn and Safran are also doing the work with the behind the camera talent as well as the in front of the camera talent.
You have to believe they are, right?
Yeah, I think
mean,
so.
if they've had that conversation with Ben, why wouldn't they have had it with these other people?
Well, and especially because Safran was the producer for both James Wan and David Sandberg.
Mm-hmm.
So they already have that relationship. They've already worked together successfully. So I am sure those things are happening, but I just, I worship at the altar of James Wan. The man is just the best. And so
He's great.
he is, he's amazing. So I don't want to stop getting DC movies from him.
Let me bounce this off of you because it just dawned on me. Obviously, Sandberg can make that a really great film. I just watched Shazam for my cheerathon the other day, and that movie's so good. I love that movie so much. But he works well with the younger cast, and he keeps a relatively light tone. He packs a lot of heart into the film. Can you imagine him doing a Teen Titans movie?
Oh man, no, I would love it.
I'm just saying. So yeah, I'm with you. I hope they keep the ties to these folks, and they're all open to working together to bring something else to light.
Or give one of them as a Zatanna film or something.
I'd watch the shit out of that too.
A what film?
A Zatanna film, or anyone in the Justice League Dark Corner.
Yeah.
As long as we're not sacrificing my Desaad solo film, I'm good.
Obviously. I mean, imagine James Wan doing Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
Like, come on. That would be amazing. But I could also see him do Superman. I could, there are a lot of possibilities. And again, once you let go of the past and you think about the possibilities of the future, there are things to get excited about. And I am excited about what those could end up being.
I'm with you.
All right, guys.
You still think Keanu Reeves is coming back for Constantine 2?
I thought about that as you were talking about James Wan directing something because I thought Constantine, and then I remembered Keanu Reeves. I don't know.
I already forgot about that. I mean, anything is possible, but that's one that I could see just sort of never being mentioned again. You never know.
Yeah.
Also, with the whole multiverse angle that has kind of become the thing to do now in all these cinematic universes, I mean, you got to be a little open to the fact that some of these actors and actresses might possibly come back later on down the road. I don't think they're going to come back in the first couple movies, but if they keep them in good graces and they want to do something crazy towards the end, why not?
Yeah. All right, guys. Any other closing thoughts before we move on to more cheerful things?
I'll just throw out what I said on Twitter earlier today. Juan seems to be telling us everything that he feels like he can, and is asking us to be patient with
You said Juan, but that's okay. We were just talking about you.
It's 11 o'clock at night. Get off me. Yeah. Gunn feels like he's saying everything that he can, and he's asking us to be patient with everything that he, quote, can't. And I love how he is approaching this, and I love how he's not shying away. He's interacting with the fan, with the media, with everything. And if there's misinformation or disinformation, he is all too quick to come out here and say, pump the brakes. That's not true. Mm-hmm. Pump the brakes. Yeah. Not all of that's true. Pump the brakes. This conversation happened, but maybe not in the way that it's quite presented here. He just outright shot one down today and said, that this reporter is somebody I know to be a really great guy, but his source is dead ass wrong about this particular report. I mean, he was right on top of that. And I love how he is not letting anybody put words in his mouth, not making stuff up without him saying that never happened. I think he's doing a masterful job at this point, and I so appreciate it. So much so, in fact, that I put it on Twitter today, but I'm just going to say it so there's also a verbal version of this out here. I retract every negative thing I've ever said about James Gunn with full apology, right here and right now.
When are you going to rewatch The Suicide Squad? That's my
probably sometime after I'm done with Cheerathon, because I don't think it quite blends in there.
Yeah. I was just gonna say. So the thing that say it is late. The thing that James Gunn debunked earlier about the Batman being incorporated into a shared universe, that did come from Variety, not the Hollywood Reporter. And so that was what James Gunn said. There are few reporters I love more. Truly a good guy, but in this case, he needs to get a new source because this is entirely untrue. So the fact that he was like, "Hey, I like you, man. You're cool. I respect you, but you're still wrong." I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not being a douche about any of this stuff, unless somebody's being full on douchey to him. I mean, he has no problem unleashing there either, as we saw with the comment about the guy that said he doesn't like Henry Cavill.
And that dude has already like told you. It's like, no, you did. Shut up. That's not what this is.
Yeah,
Come on.
whatever, guy. Yeah, whatever. But I'm loving all of this. I'm loving somebody from Warner Brothers, from DC Studios, from this position, just out here. I mean, it really feels like he's being with the people here, and I'm here for it, and I love it.
Yeah. Joe, anything else to add?
No, I echo all of that. I think the important thing to do is kind of try to separate everything that happened prior to when Gunn and Safran officially became the two lead guys, and just start fresh here, and let's move on and pretend like I mean, as sad as it is, I'm pretending like the official announcement of Cavill being back never happened, like, because it's a weird transition there. But everything since Gunn and Safran have been in there, it's been transparent. They've been, or Gunn, on Twitter and everything. Like, he tweets so much now that if you go a day without him tweeting, you're like, oh, like, he's being quiet today. Like,
what's going on? Yeah,
there's no rumors today. What's he doing? Like, maybe he's actually working. So yeah, let's just try to enjoy the possibilities that are coming, like you were saying before, because this should be the exciting point. Let's just start fresh here and enjoy the ride. That's really the best thing right now. And hey, it's the holidays. Let's just not dwell on the negative stuff here. Enjoy the holidays. Watch the fun stuff for now. Watch and save all the bickering for January.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to roll with it. And you made a very good point about people, like there's been all this is like, oh, WB has screwed this up for years now, and now this. And it's like, this is two guys who just took this job exactly 5-6 weeks ago, who are now trying to sort out that mess and fix that mess. It's not, they didn't cause the problems in the past 5 to 10 years. They're trying to fix the problems. And the problem,
I can fix it better. That's the problem.
Okay, well, fair enough. But listen, I understand the disappointment because I share the disappointment. I do. And do I wish things had been smoother over the past 10 years? Hallelujah. Of course I do.
Yeah, I'm not actually saying I can fix it better, obviously.
But I got it. I got what you're doing. But at this point in time, these are the guys who are hired to sort through the mess and come up with the new plan, and that's what they're doing. And it's not going to be what you want to do. It's not going to be what I want to do. But I also have faith in the talent of these two people, and I appreciate the transparency, and I am willing to go with it for now. Because I do think that they have the best interests of the DC universe in mind. And it's a shame that we will lose things along the way, but I think in the end it's to build a stronger DC universe on film, and that is where I am laying my hopes. So I understand the disappointment. It's okay. As Henry Cavill said, it's okay to mourn. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be bummed out. But these characters are bigger than any one interpretation, bigger than any one actor. The characters will live on, and we will see them on movie screens again. And I hope that the next time we do, it's going to be a wonderful experience, and we all love it, and we can celebrate it at that time. So ups and downs. It's the world of being a DC fan. We should be used to it by now. And this is both an up and a down, in my opinion. But I'm still hopeful about the future, and that's what I'm clinging to, because as Joe said, it's the holidays. It's the time for miracles. It's a time for hope and positivity, and that's what I'm choosing right now.
It's the time to watch the Santa Claus with your friends.
Yeah, obviously. So there you go. We're gonna leave it there, and tomorrow everything will change again anyway. So we'll see what happens then. But we will get on to some more Yuletide stuff. Hopefully in our lives, and then hopefully on the show as well. But let's wrap this up so all of us can go to bed. Jamie, thanks for staying up late. Appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you.
On Twitter, BatRaider3960, Real Fans Groups on Facebook, RF, the number 4RM, and this podcast, generally speaking.
Cool. Joe, thank you as well.
Oh, thank you for having me. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd as JForn11, and on Facebook as Joe Fornerato, FORNAROTTO. And yeah, you can find me on The Fire Rises with Eric Carter.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And thank you everybody out there for joining us, for joining the conversation. I hope it's been therapeutic. I hope you feel better. But thanks for listening. Please do follow or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed the show, also please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. That would be greatly appreciated. Visit holybatcast.com. Find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, which I'm sure will be a doozy when we get to it, you can send those messages to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. I feel like those are going to pile up over the next couple weeks during the holidays, and that'll be fun to sort through when we get to it. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsor, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. If you're going to buy something, use that promo code BATSCAPED. That'll do it. On behalf of Jamie and Joe, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.